is Black History. Let's clap it up for that. Yes. Y'all know who I'm here with? I'm here with my two amazing co-hosts, Mr. Daniels and Mr. Brooks. I call them the grumpy old men on the couch. Right? And then we have someone joining us today. We have Mr. Vance joining us, and we're going to give him an opportunity to introduce himself, right? But before I do that, I'm going to let you all know that it is Black History Month, so y'all may see me wearing my little African garb or whatever, just putting it on because I want to, pay homage to my ancestors. I know, there's certain things that we do. Y'all remember Grandma always wore the apron. I got aprons. I'm gonna wear an apron when I'm in the kitchen cooking. You know what I mean? Praying with my family. Just we doing a reset because sometimes, to me, Black history is 365, yes, right? But sometimes we get so comfortable and we forget about certain things that we need to be doing as ourselves, for our culture, for our families, and we just get laxed, right? So you look at February as a reset, as to say, well, you know what? Maybe I need to get a little bit stronger into my culture or do a little bit more, show up a little bit more, be a little bit more present. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to be present. So today, he don't know this, but we're going to be talking about the bus. We're going to be talking about the bus ride. Have you ever been on the bus? Have you ever experienced anything on a bus? Do you remember somebody from the bus? You know what I mean? But we're going to talk about the bus because the bus was something that kind of is our history. One part about our histories, one of the things that they do teach children in school is about, Rosa Parks and the young lady even before Rosa Parks, and Mr. Daniels will definitely talk about that, because we do have living legends here. They're not in the history book because they are the history book. They're able to talk about those eras, those times, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. They're here on the couch, right? Clap it up for that. Yeah, y'all gentlemen, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Vance, we allow you to go first. You're our guest. We'll let you go first, right? And then these two will introduce themselves, and then they will derive their questions off of how you introduced yourself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour myself a cup of tea. Because y'all said y'all don't want none. But I'm going to pour myself. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
My name is Vance Hollins. I kind of have an interesting history and work life that brought me to where we've interacted throughout the years. Grew up in Trenton, North Trenton, and I used to catch the bus. But interesting enough, when I was about 13, my sister lived down in North Carolina, and my parents had sent my one sister, who's a couple years older than me, and I down to stay with my older sister for the summer. And they put us on the Trailways, which was like the depot was right across the street from the train station.
Right.
And it was just that my sister at the time was like 15, 16, and I was 13, 12, 13. And they sat us behind the driver. And I was just amazed. I was like that big wheel and just never, it's just something about it. It was pretty cool, and it was on the back of my mind. I used to collect buses. It was just one of those things. Well, moving forward, I graduated. I was supposed to go to college, but then I went to the military. I was in telecommunications, stationed in 2 places, Fort Gordon, Fort Raleigh. But then I had got DA selected to go back to school for uplink engineering, satellite communication, and did that. Then I went to Germany. I was in Germany for 5 years. Literally traveled the world. Did so much, and interesting enough, I raised my son over there. So it kind of, instead of furthering my career in the military, I figured it was time for me to get out. I came home. I was gonna go to school, get my degree, engineering degree. But then the one sister that I went down for the summer, she used to sing, and she sang background for like Taylor Dane and Prince and Rolling Stone and Cinderella. And at the time, I talked her into going on tour with Cinderella. And I came home, and she was like, you know, you've been working all your life since you were like 13. Why don't you just hang out? I said, okay, sure. Hung out with them for a couple weeks. They loved her. But then I became friends with the owners of the company. They were bus drivers. They owned a bus company down in Tennessee, selling tours. And interestingly enough, you know, I would sit in the captain's seat and talk with Tommy, which was one of the brothers. And he said, have you ever thought about driving? I was like, not really. And he said, well, I'll take you to a parking lot, see how you handle the bus, and I can tell you whether or not you're gonna be good. He did just that. He said, look, he said, come home, take your test, get your permit, come back out with us, and you know, we went on, and that's where my career started in bus driving. So I wound up driving Rolling Stones, Aretha Franklin, Son, Taylor Dane. I did, you know.
You did the tour bus thing.
Oh yeah, tour bus thing. Did that for a couple of years, but then you know, things evolved. And, you know, at the time, my daughter's mother, you know, she said, you know, pregnant. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to, you know, stay home. I started working for A1 Limousine, which was like the number 2 limo company in the country. And we had contracts, government contracts, and so I was basically dealing with all aspects of the business. You know, I mean, it was an amazing experience. You know, I was with them for like 23 years, and you know, I got to have relationships and accounts with like Bristol Myers Squibb, Merrill Lynch, and so that's taught me how to handle clients and companies and industry, as well as we had government contracts, and I still have my clearance, so I was able to do a lot of things, like with the Generals, West Point. We used to always go to the games.
What type of clearance did that require?
Well, I had a crypto, which was a crypto, which is a little bit above a top secret.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 'cause I was in intelligence in Europe, so I used to travel to various places like Istanbul, Afghanistan. I had to go to Russia when Gorbachev and Reagan signed the treaty. I was with the nuclear theater. I was with Persian too, in support of that. So we during that treaty, I was part of the inspection team. That's why I wound up, instead of staying like 3 years, which is typically for those who have dependents, I wound up getting extended for an extra 2 years. So I was part of the inspection team, and so I had to go to the various things, various what they call TDY assignments.
Well, I find your background very interesting, and I'd like to. I'm not cutting through the chase, but I'd like to bring it right up forward with what is going on right now. Give us your opinion on, and it's not inside, it's your personal opinion that I'm looking for. Not, anything with your background, but your background helps you understand what's going on better than the lay would help, would understand rather, excuse me. So give me your observation on, basically, because I'm very sympathetic to the Hispanic, the Latino community, especially now, because along with us, we're being we're being attacked, we're being sodomized, and so forth and so on. So give us a little input on your observations and how you feel about it, and how do you think the world is viewing us as a country right now, also.
Well, I was kind of leading into that on how.
Go right ahead.
Basically, I was exposed to, to a lot of things. So I kind of see things on a broader lens than my surroundings. So sometimes we kind of get capsulated into, you know, what we're dealing with right here and right now, without understanding, you know, the real, true, like, understanding of what another person is going through. You know, you can see my glory, but you don't know my story. You know what I mean? So typically, you know, through my career and through my life, you know, like from A1 Limo, and I've dealt with a lot of folks, you know, which led to me actually working with a cable company, and they had like a $4 million bus. This thing was a television studio on wheels. I got to create relationship with school districts, superintendent, you know, throughout the country, because we were in 11 markets from coast to coast. And I used
But
to
that's not
travel.
what I'm asking you, sir.
See, this is
Right,
where you have to understand right
No,
now.
I understand.
This is where to better understand my answer to your question.
Well,
This is the better
Okay,
understand,
so go ahead.
because I'm dealing with that right now.
Okay.
And so
all right.
so basically, it allowed me to see and have a broader scope as to people, and understanding that, you know, there's certain ways that you can address and deal with people. You know, okay, your experiences with me, you know, like personally, you know, because I drove for Jersey Transit. You know, and then the reason why I went to Jersey Transit from a career, you know, that was, you know, that I transitioned from, it got me to understand the side of my folks from Trenton, my accounting. And as you know, when folks came up on my bus, the thing is, when you address people as though you see them. You know, I see you as a human being. I see you as someone that, you know, we have a relationship. Whether or not we talk, or whether or not we have a relationship, because you have to, you know, you ride the bus. And my personal duty and like my just my passion is to make sure that anybody that I touch understands that, you know, life is great, life is good. Under all this muck and mire that we're dealing with currently, you know, with the government, the overreach, all these things that are happening, you know, there still is light in that tunnel. But there's two ways that you can approach life. And this is what I'm finding from the top to the bottom. You made a broad assumption that all wealthy people are grimy, they have attitudes, to be honest with you, they don't. Why? Why would they? You got all the money in the world. You don't have to work. You have to understand that there are people out here that are billionaires and multi-millionaires. They understand that they have to live in this world, right? So they have to do things that would allow the system to function on a level to where everybody can live. And the biggest problem that I see, especially with folks, especially with our folks, and I'm gonna be honest, is our mindset. But see, I don't blame a lot of it on ourselves as a group, because you gotta understand our history. It started like with the Willie Lynch letters. It started with the Willie Lynch letters.
Dude.
Where Willie Lynch letters.
Okay.
Okay?
No, go ahead.
When we were brought over here as slaves, basically the
Right,
slaves
right.
were out of pocket. They were killing their masters, and so Willie Lynch came in and said, "Okay, this is how you handle this." You know, they know that the strongest thing for, especially a man, is family. Okay, that's how we built. This is how we, you know, procreate. This is how we populate the world. But see, the problem was with the Willie Lynch letters. They bought it. They would separate families. They would sell off the kids. They would sell off the wives, and then they were realizing that, you know, they were bringing all these the new bodies. They were losing way too many millions. So they decided to, you know, have these stables. Now, if you break down, you break a man down, and you keep breaking him down, breaking him down, breaking him down, and you notice, you know, and it's prevalent to today. You know, we do this thing called self-policing. We always assume anything, and we live on perception. And to be honest with you, you know, it's like if you keep yourself in that bubble, there's no room for true understanding that there's an answer, there's a solution, there's light in that tunnel where you can live a prosperous life. Let me tell you, you know, to be honest with you, you know, in life, you know, we separate ourselves from God. We say we don't, and we say we go to church and all, but do we actually really have a personal relationship with God? See, that's the key.
Very important.
And if we
Very
really
important.
truly understood that we were designed for a purpose, if we really understood that purpose, then everything would be clear. You understand? So there's two ways that you can go about life. You can go about, you know, being selfish or selfless. The selfish always paint this picture of propaganda of saying, you know, if you're selfless, people take advantage of you. No. You're more protected when you're selfless than you are when you're selfish. Because when you're selfish, you give everybody the opportunity to, you know, take your paintbrush. Because they know that you want something. So if I got something, I'm gonna use that tool to control you. Okay, the same thing with riding the bus. Okay, you got the company, you know, the company in itself, you have a pool of people like these managers. It's the same, and it's on so many, everything's so parallel. And if people really understood that dynamic, then, you know, things would change dramatically. But you have a company with a bunch of managers, so they don't have to deal with passengers. They don't have to deal with you.
That's right.
So what they do is the agenda is to make money, make sure the money that they get is operationally viable so that they can function, keep the machine going, so they can get paid, they can get their salaries, they can do, you know, all the things that they want to do. So, but at the same time, you got some, in some instances, like you got the road supervisors that are out here with transit, they don't make as much as the drivers. The problem is, it's a quagmire. It's a two-edged sword. A lot of folks don't want to be drivers. But so supply and demand. If you understand supply and demand, you know they won't pay you, because if they didn't, they wouldn't have any drivers.
Well,
What-
let's bring this back, right? Great points. I love it. Thank you, because we had to build the bridge to get over.
Right.
So did we get over the bridge? You think so?
Pretty much.
Okay, we over that.
I really want them to talk about the lack of support
What?
from management.
Right.
From
That's what
management.
I'm.
You
That's my
brought that
next
up before
point.
we went on the air.
That's my.
Yeah.
I
That's
found
not.
that
That's
interesting
not.
because I saw that
Right.
as a passenger.
Mhm.
No, you don't have any support. This is your bus.
Mhm.
You're in charge.
Right.
Make it work.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, if something goes left, you're left with the bag.
I understand that.
Okay, well,
Well, that's
I'm not
what-
gonna, I'm not gonna lose my job because somebody's, you know, somebody is jealous or somebody wants to, you know, they gotta crawl up the
But
behind.
to me,
But, you
to
know,
me as a passenger, and
Yeah.
a current passenger,
right,
my thing is get me from A to B. We talked about
That's
women
my
earlier,
passion,
we
right?
talked about earlier, I talked about common courtesy as a profession. I was a professional all my work career. I could give you a good morning.
Right.
Whether I felt like giving you good morning or not, because you were part of my livelihood. You were my livelihood. Nobody gets on the bus, give a damn how good a driver you are, you're not getting paid or you won't have a job. But like you said, the feeling was, okay, I know management is not really backing me, okay, and this, you made a very interesting point that I had no idea. I thought maybe the supervisors made a little bit more than the drivers did. But I understand in this system, where seniority means a lot, and you're picking your route every 3 months,
Right.
and whoever has the most seniority gets the route that they want, and then it trickles on down.
Okay, but see, there's so many different layers. You're talking about law as a bus driver. A lot of the bus drivers, I come from the corporate thing.
Okay?
Okay, so there's federal standards that has to be abided by.
Right.
Which I found through my career with New Jersey Transit, they kind of like they were lax on because they gave a little bit of power to the passengers, to kind of pit the passengers against the drivers in a sense of where, but then you have the supervisor because they're not making as much, they're ready to write somebody, their management's telling you, there are things that are happening. You
What are
need to
some
be
of these
writing
violations that you're talking about?
like and it's little stuff that just to keep their thumb on the driver, so the driver feels as though they don't have to do anything more, and they've got to watch their back, with management. So the passenger is a second thought. So this is where the disconnect is. So with me, I told management. Now we used to have like courtesy stops, right? Courtesy stops are basically created between the city and transit. They have liaisons that work with the city, and you gotta remember there's a lot of things that are about liability, and that's the big key. Bus stops are basically orchestrated, and they're by law to be done so that the risk is less. Now, during the time, they used to always say, the courtesy stop was up to the bus driver. If I see someone, an elderly person that can't, walk to a board, I just stop and I pick them up. Now, the problem with that was, it was like you had some situations where people were getting hurt. Guess what? That was laid onto the driver. And the way they stipulate a courtesy stop within the manual, because you got to go to school and you got to go through training and all that, is up to the driver's discretion to stop. It's not, well, I got to pick you up as a passenger. That's why they have designated bus stops. And especially during the weather, inclement weather, and now the city is supposed to clear those spots out
Right,
there,
so
but
the
sometimes you
problem
gotta
is
step out into the street because there's ice and all that. But what they don't tell you, and what they tell the driver, they kind of hint off with the drivers, like, go ahead and. But Hamilton Township, they don't play. I stop at a bus stop, whether they clear it or not. If you get hurt, it doesn't fall on me. You know what I mean? Because I'm abiding by the law. It's a mandate in the township. So, anything beside that, then it's on me. Same thing with the carts. Now those carts, with people bringing those carts on, okay, you have to understand, federally, it's against the law for me to have that cart on there. Drivers don't understand that. They hear management, so and so, they complained, and they'll send drivers to remedial classes on customer service and all this. And it's like, wait a minute, how come you're not telling these drivers, and these drivers need to find out for themselves what they need to do to protect themselves and their license? Because at the end of the day, say if you got a car, you're shopping, you have no, I get it. You know, you have no transportation, you're going shopping, that's the only way that you can get your, you know, get your groceries, and now this thing weighs like 40 to 60 pounds, okay? You bring it onto the, you put up the seat, you can secure it as much as you want, but say you ride down it, I'm coming down from Mercer Mall, like the 613, and you shopping at the ShopRite because they have better prices, and I get all that. I'm riding down Route 1, and they used to have this camera, this red light camera, where they catch you if you run red. Now you're doing 50-something miles an hour. You get somebody that's, you know, out there, they slam on their brakes. You gotta slam on your brakes. Guess what? That shopping cart, that thing, that becomes a projectile. At 50-something miles an hour at a dead stop, say that there's a kid in the aisle that rolls in, because there's no seat belts. A kid rolls in the center of the aisle of the bus, and that projectile's coming at the same time, and unfortunately that kid gets killed. Guess what? I'm going to jail for second-degree murder. What makes you think I'm going to put my life and my livelihood on the line because you want to bring a cart on it, and I'm telling you can't bring that cart on the bus?
Let me ask you a question. So are there alternatives? Okay, and I understand it because I'm on the bus. Let me finish. I hate when they come on with the carts, but I know that they have no other. If I'm gonna get to the store and feed myself, I gotta go this route. So they let me do this. All right. The only way you get on the bus, the drivers let you on there, even though they have
because the company,
they have discretion.
No, they don't.
Well, wait a minute. But to me, the company should be saying, okay, you can't ride this bus if you're going to the grocery store, but we have access lane, we have this, we have that. But see, none of that is explained to the patron.
Now you understand.
Oh, no, I ride the bus. Of course I understand. I know exactly
Now you understand what the drivers have to deal with.
Yeah.
Think about this. Think about that.
I mean, I know, I understand that too, but you know
is-
something, if I was that driver, wait a minute, if I was that driver, and I really would not be concerned how upset you got. The alternative for you with the cart is to call Access Link. All right, it's gonna cost you the same money, but they're gonna take you from door to door, where I'm not taking you from door to door. Communication is the key to anything. All right, if you have, and I'm not saying you as an individual, if you have this knowledge, tell everybody, speak about it.
I did.
Okay,
I did.
I'm not even gonna ask you what your reaction was. Their reaction was.
Oh, of course.
I can just imagine.
I would get
like, oh hell,
complaints.
bro, what do you mean?
I would get complaint, but see, this is the thing. The company's not doing that.
That's right, and actually, that's more on the company than on you.
Right, but see, the problem of it is the company does that on purpose to keep the driver to kind of control how things they pit the passengers against the drivers, because now they used to hate me. Like the women with the cars, they used to hate me. A couple of them, they used to come on there. I would get the police and have them escorted off my bus. I would call control center. I'm like, look, I have a cart on the bus. I need police assistance to have this passenger escorted off my bus. See, that was my response, because that was responsibility for myself and the safety of the passenger.
And if your company put it out there like it should be,
But
instead
see,
of
they
the access
don't.
link
That's the
riding
problem.
around with one person on it.
But they don't.
That's
And
right.
that's the problem.
You're absolutely right on
See,
that.
now you know.
Right.
Now you know what I'm talking
Oh, I
about
know.
when it comes down
As I
to
said
that.
before, I ride the bus
And see,
every day.
management.
This is a hoax.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
And management, the district manager down in Camden, he used to always come to me. He said, "I want you to be a manager. I want you to be a manager," because he knew that if I became a road manager, that they would be able to control my position of where I stood. I stood on federal on the laws, federal laws, and I had the booklet by law. If you're a bus driver, by law as CDL, you had to have this book.
This way they couldn't set you up.
Right,
Yeah.
and they used to try to wrap me up, but
Couldn't set
I
you up.
tell you,
My man, smart move.
Hey, I used to try to tell the drivers, but they didn't wanna hear, they were like, oh no, the company
Because
doesn't back
then
us
what
up.
they do that I don't agree with, you can't pick and choose.
Right,
The rules are the rules.
but I used to tell management, I'm like, look, I gotta see, I could work anywhere, and it was true.
All right, gentlemen, I really gotta break y'all two up,
Yeah.
okay? Mr. Daniels gotta get ready to go.
Okay.
And, so we wanna wrap this up,
Mhm.
because it's a great conversation about, you know, the bus
And I wanna
situation.
thank you for bringing the gentleman here.
Yes,
Because I tell you what, I'm quite sure there are people out there, just like me, that ride the
Which-
bus. Now they have a little
But you
better
know what?
understanding on how to ride that bus.
But can I ask a favor of you?
Mhm.
Cause I know a lot of the drivers that are still in, a lot of them that are there. A word, a kind word, tell them, I understand what you're going through. But for me, I would like to have some positive energy. How are you doing this morning?
Mhm.
I'll tell you what, that would change the attitude of a lot of these drivers.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
yes.
It starts with you, man. We can have a lot of grapes.
No, you know something?
Okay.
Well,
Well, the grumpy old man, it's time, hey, listen, come on, Mr. Daniels gotta get ready to go, I
But you know-
apologize.
Oh, well, I
Yeah,
gotta,
you
that's
gotta
my
get ready,
ride.
that's right. So
Thank you,
listen,
sir.
everybody, listen,
Thank you,
we
sir.
will be
Nice-
back
nice
again,
meeting you.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm retired now, but.
happy
We
Black
all.
History Month, this is the
Yes.
real
Yeah.
show, this is what we get, okay? Mr. Willis, we will talk with you soon, Vince, thank you so very much for being a part of the show, and we will be back again next Monday, woo, clap it up, y'all, clap it
Don't
up.
forget to come see us on Sundays.
Hey. That's all it takes.